Our first speaker is Mr. Prateek Hira, Founder, President, and CEO of Tornos Destinations Private Limited. He will speak on the role of travel intermediaries in post-COVID revival of tourism industry. Over to you, Mr. Hira.
Thank you, Mr. Anil Nair, and it is such a pleasure to be here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Probably it's a virtual visit to Goa, I would say. It is though virtually, but it is such a nice thing to meet Professor Sutishna Babu after, I think, almost 15 or 20 years. So we do blame COVID for everything, and even for not allowing us to meet, but here we are contradicting our own thought about COVID, and it's a fair example of how COVID is bringing us together after 15, 20 years. But seriously, thank you, Professor Babu, for having me on this platform today. It is also a pleasure. It was a pleasure to listen to the message from Professor Alok Sharma, the director, IITTM, and I'm looking forward eagerly to meeting him in person. I haven't met him in person since he has taken over IITTM. And of course, it was a great pleasure to listen to the views of Professor V. Balachandran today. Greetings of the day to all my fellow panelists who are experts in their own fields, and I'm sure this webinar will bring forth many important aspects due to their intellectual abilities and capabilities. I belong to the clan of travel intermediaries, so I will limit myself to this subject. Ladies and gentlemen, travel agents and tour operators were the only two travel intermediaries traditionally, but later with time and the evolution, they have multiplied and tweaked the profile, their profile, like OTAs and DMCs and inbound operators and outbound and domestic and so on. You know, the macro and the micro specializations have taken shape. But on the whole, broadly, it is still traditionally a travel agent or a tour operator who's putting things together and is a mediator between, in terms of sales channel. An entirely new form of business disruption is taking place or is about to emerge, and which has already started kind of peeping out in the travel industry, coming to forth. This may be termed as COVID-driven business disruption. Travel otherwise too has been an ever-evolving business, and more so in the recent past, I would say, when in spite of all business adversaries, travel intermediaries survived well, quite well. So it has been kind of, I mean, we are channel of sales, but if you see the past, there was a huge disruption which was brought about by the internet in all businesses and majorly in the travel business, but we did survive that regime also. And then there was the zero commission thing and the diminishing of commissions, which we again survived. But it has been seen that leisure segment is particularly one domain which will where the role of travel intermediaries will never diminish, at least as of now. No matter how technologically, I mean, it's a complementary use of technology within our system of doing business as travel agents or tour operators. But there's a huge, massive pool, like Professor Balachandran was also talking about. There's a massive pool of travelers now in this leisure segment, and which is continuously growing, and so are the travel intermediaries becoming more important in this kind of a sector, who are technically qualified and who are experienced to meet the requirements of time, interest, and budget of the travelers. And the bigger role comes in terms of travel counseling and travel advisory that make the travel intermediaries relevant and important, more so today in the post-COVID world. Knowledge of the destination, the product know-how, the product knowledge, the services, these services are still sort of indispensable, which are delivered through a travel intermediary, which is a travel agent or a tour operator, in whatever form you may see that. And a very, very important part or an important aspect of the entire trade chain. With COVID, of course, there is a COVID disruption. No doubt the industry is impacted hugely. But on the other front, I am also seeing the growing importance of travel intermediaries. The leisure market is huge. It's hugely open. And we, mind you, are only realizing now that what kind of leisure markets, what the potential of leisure market when things were stopped. And there was a surge which we called revenge tourism in places like Himachal, even Goa, I would say, Himachal, Goa, Uttarakhand, which may not be appreciated in terms of sustainability and many other aspects, but which are reassuring and telling us the kind of the business that we can expect in the coming days. So this is the kind of a positive message as well. I mean, there is a lot of negativity in this, and there I don't appreciate that kind of a surge. But coming into our shoes, you can see that what kind of the kind of surge that is awaited in this industry. And then there is now a problem of plenty also, because there's a lot of the knowledge that people have gained. Yet another reason I see is quite interesting, and I was thinking, I call this term as travelables, travelable age. This is an age when people travel the most, and this differs from country to country, market to market, and there would be people who are 35 to 45 or 35 to 50, then there is a market where there are 18 to 25s who travel. But this market is again growing because there was a kind of a stoppage for about 2 years, if you allow me to say. It's almost 2 years now, 18 months, and you can add another 4 months when things open up properly. So this segment is now adding. So we have a larger population. There was a population which was not allowed to travel for 2 years, and now there is an addition to that travelable population. So there's an increase which is manifold in terms of the market size, basically, which has grown. So travelers will more and more seek the help of travel intermediaries to create hassle-free, COVID-safe travel itineraries, and more for seeking travel advice now. So we must understand that, in fact, it's visible too that travel businesses are remodeling themselves on the concept of earn more, save more, so that the turnaround is sooner. Some travel businesses are even expanding. It may sound strange, but they are expanding and travel business because they have accumulated a lot of losses. They have been under huge losses and looming uncertainties. But it's logical that this expansion, if they are expanding into new markets, they are adding new service verticals. But the prime objective, again, is to expand revenue heads, recover faster, and turn around faster. We all have heard the term of break-even, but this now will be an era of re-break-even, because we have exhausted our reserves, the capital, you can say. So there are companies that are now without capital. So now they are kind of re-establishing themselves in a business, behaving like a startup. So there must have been a day when I earned my first 100 rupee out of some kind of a travel. So I will see it in that manner. I will again try to earn that first 100 rupee out of the travel when things become easier, or when travel opens up fully. Now, one of the most prominent areas in sight is that which was there are certain changes, of course, which are taking place. So one of the areas that I am seeing coming up in a huge manner will be the pre-purchase system of rooms, because this is an area which will be, again, the hotels or the airlines will need cash and cash guarantee. So this will be one thing that will rule the business, and the advantage of this will be again taken by the cash-rich travel agents or hotel aggregators, through whom the travel agents and tour operators will proceed to take hotel rooms in future. So this will become an additional travel intermediary in the chain. So the hotel room may not come directly through a travel agent, but it may again come through a hotel aggregator to a travel agent, and finally going to the customer or the guest. Another area another change rather, that I am seeing, or call it a business disruption or whatever you call, that there will be a shift from credit to cash. Travel agents, tour operators were enjoying for since a lot of credit kind of a facility from the hotels, from the airlines, but it has changed, So this has changed because there were defaults in the payment because of COVID, and there was a recent breakdown in Cox and Kings thing that happened, and the Jet Airways thing that happened. The airlines were not able to refund cash to customers. The hotels were not giving cash back to customers. So the travel agent or the travel intermediary was acting like a firewall in between. So we did pay back I remember I had a Chinese group which was cancelled during this COVID beginning period, and I did not get my refunds from the hotel. I did not get my refunds from the airlines. But at that point of time, I wanted to ensure my own company's credibility, and I ensured that each penny is refunded. Of course, I'm thankful to the airlines and all the hotels involved that they did refund me after a year or so. But the point here is that I acted as a firewall. I was in communication with the airlines. I was in communication with the hotel. So the benefit was passed on to the consumer. So here again, the travel intermediary plays a major role. Then, of course, there has been a huge rule of destination management companies who were kind of doing everything in a country like India, which is not only huge, but call it a continent. I mean, it's called a subcontinent, but call it a continent, size of a continent. The states of India are so huge, many of them are bigger than countries abroad. So now try to understand that during this period, there is a lot of information, there's a lot of knowledge rather that has flowed into the travelers, into the foreign tour operators, into the domestic tour operators, destination knowledge. People have come for, the kind of involvement that we have had on such webinars like we are having today. There have been, like Government of India was doing this Dekho Apna Desh thing all through. The kind of knowledge I gained from Dekho Apna Desh, I probably don't think that I ever had that kind of a knowledge about Northeast or down South, or, things were very kind of very knowledgeable webinars that we had. Now that I have that knowledge, I cannot deal with a travel intermediary or a DMC who's know all, do all kind of a business. So what I will do is probably I will go to a micro player. Micro player will have more knowledge. So let me call this micro DMC, who will handle a small state, a region, or a specialized. Try to imagine the size of India. We are talking about more than 19,000 dialects, and we're talking about 22 languages and 28 states and whatnot, the union territories and multiple religions. So how can you imagine that one DMC would be able to serve everything in a country like India? So, and plus, there's a lot of employment loss as well at the travel intermediaries, tour operators, travel agents. People have returned to their own homes, to their own region. A person working in Bombay must have returned to maybe Pune or Nashik. So when he has returned to his hometown, he is trying to establish himself there as a regional player. And he already has that database, plus he's already in touch with people, and the foreign agents, the foreign tour operators, the client base is much more sensible, much more strong, much more knowledgeable than it ever was. So they are again coming up as a specialized, serving in a specific smaller areas, more focused on their regional knowledge. They can provide immediate, seamless information, and due to their size, and can offer very personalized services to their clients, which may not be possible through a traditional large DMC based out of Delhi or Bombay or Calcutta or any kind of a metro city who was serving entire India. Now, another important thing for the students, of course, and for institutions like IITTM and your water sports and other such travel institutions, universities, in terms of employment, the major takeaway from COVID, in my opinion, is that now that the travel intermediaries, we have this fear that the travel intermediaries will be slimming their staff strength, and the increased reliance will be on automation. A lot of staff outsourcing might take place. It is bound to happen in the travel industry, and we have learned how to, deal with this kind of situation, which was thrown at us for the very first time, at least for our generation. Now, after all, travel and tour business are highly seasonal. We need to understand it's almost just a 5 months in a year that we work, and the companies have to maintain their huge staff for the entire year. Barring a few key positions, companies may now hire work force based on through or rather outsource the hiring through another HR outsourcing companies, and then lay them off easily, and they might be working in some other sector or other company, from inbound to domestic and domestic to something else. So this might also happen. Multitasking of staff is another thing we have learned during the COVID time. So it will no more be restricted that a person who's making itineraries, he'll just do itineraries, and a lady who's doing just the costing will do just the costing, or making vouchers or answering. So it will be a 360-degree kind of a staff that we will be looking for. Now, this trend may sound worrisome because you might think that this will reduce the number of opportunities, the number of employment opportunities. But then, on the other hand, we need to see that there is always now what I have spoken about is multiplication of business as well. New travel businesses are taking shape. About a few, of course, I have discussed. I cannot discuss the entire thing, but this is how it's growing manifold. There'll be more opportunities rather than they ever were in and the surge, mind you, don't forget the surge in the number of travelers, in the kind of knowledge that they seek now. So it is very important to now be happy that we are about to enter a kind of an era which will have a lot of travel potential, a lot of travel related jobs will come up the moment things start and they have started, I tell you, they have started getting better. List of changes, of course, can go on, and because this is the biggest global travel business disruption which is happening. But all disruptions and changes in the travel business have gelled really very well. And we have accepted all of them in the past as well. Try to imagine, I mean, people of my generation would know that there was a time when we were doing fare calculations through a book called ABC, or when we were reading train timetables. The newer generation doesn't know what train timetables are, or how to refer the train to the train timetables, or how to calculate fares from a book. You can't imagine that these things ever existed. So it is rather, it is bound to happen. But let's now, when there is when something is changing and it's new, it is called disruption. But then when it has gelled well into the system, we call it evolution. So let's now start calling it a COVID-related evolution, which is taking shape in our businesses. So I think that's it from me for now. And thank you for this opportunity. And I pass it back to you, Anil. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hira, for your optimistic presentation for the outlook for the industry as well as the travel intermediaries. You're saying, you said that despite twin disruptions by technology and COVID, the prospects for the industry as well as the intermediaries are quite bright. You cited 3 trends that may benefit intermediaries and make them relevant even in the coming years. One is pre-purchase system, or then there is a change from credit to cash, and the advent of destination management companies. You said that these 3 trends could help intermediaries stay relevant and thrive in the days to come. Thank you very much.